If I'm so smart, why am I so tired? That is the question that I ended up asking myself years ago. In fact, I asked it because my mom said, "Listen, why are you so tired? Why are you always getting all these calls talking to me and saying I'm so tired?" And until she said something, I didn't even realize that that is what I was doing every single week when I called her and talked to her. Oh, I'm so tired. So, if you are a highly capable, high capacity woman, and I think that honestly, you probably are. That's why you're listening to this video or joining me on the live. I'm going to be honest with you. You're going to struggle with this more. It's natural to struggle with this more because your intelligence is a it's a gift, but it's also kind of like a driving factor of like, if I can help, I should be able to help. And because you're able to process and do things quicker, you tend to take on more things. And that compounds the problem that everyone can face. But I think that there's a few reasons why women especially struggle with this. And so that's where I'm speaking to. I'm speaking to you and I'm speaking from because it's been coming up a lot with my clients. And I thought, okay, it's a pattern. Let's hash this out. So, in case we're meeting for the very first time, my name is April Bragg. And on this channel, I teach timeless truth to help you live, love, and lead with confidence. And in my business, I am a clarity coach that helps high capacity women simplify their life and their business so they can accomplish more and actually have time to enjoy the fruits of their labor without exhaustion, without burnout, without feeling like you have to quit one thing or the other, to quit something you love to have something that you need. So, let's talk about being tired. And this is not because you're weak, okay? But it's because no one is teaching you how to balance your brilliance with peace. The kind of peace that comes from being clear on your priorities, clear on your purpose, clear on your values, and clear on a plan to manage what matters most for this season of life. So, there is a reason because life is always 100% always coming at us and offering us thousands and thousands of opportunities to do things and to be involved in things and to say yes to things. Oh, you guys, I have to tell you the story. So, and even if you are practicing saying no, sometimes it's super, super hard to say no. Sometimes you can even get extra pressure not to say no. That's the story that I was getting ready to tell. I remember when my husband was a Sunday school teacher of a married adult class several years ago. And he was the teacher. It wasn't like we were co teaching this class. In fact, I wasn't even in the class half the time because I'd be playing the piano for one of the services. So, and he's a teacher. I had no desire to teach. He loves to teach, it's his gifting, it's his calling. But it's married adults, they have lots of babies. And I remember one day, one of the women came and says, "Hey," one of the women from the church, like from church leadership, came and said, "Hey, when are you going to throw a baby shower for so and so who is a member of my husband's Sunday school class?" And I said, "Well, I wasn't planning on throwing a baby shower for anyone. Nothing against her. It's not my gift." There are women, I have got dear friends who are so gifted at event planning, and this is where their creativity shines. Me, you know me, I'm efficient. I am, let's get to the point, what's necessary, what's not. And so I just said, I'm not planning on throwing a baby shower. Now, I technically know how to do it. I have done it before in the past, and I've done it enough to know that it's not anything that I enjoy at all. Like, there's no part of the process that I enjoy. And And that was one of the things that I was trying to be way more committed to, like only saying yes to the things that I feel like God is calling me to do, like, or has gifted me to do. And gifting can show up as sometimes an enjoyment of something, which that reminds me. If you hear something that helps you, don't try to remember everything I say, but just use the chat to write down your one aha moment. And what that'll do is that'll help you anchor in the one thing that you needed to hear today. And it'll also help somebody else who reads it. Okay. So, anyway, it just reminded me of how much of an aha moment it was when somebody said, the point is not to make yourself available to do everything. The point is to get clear on what you're gifted to do and then bring those gifts to the world, to the church body. I'm like, what? That is not how I was trained. That is not what I was taught. So I told her, no, I wasn't planning on doing a baby shower. I don't throw baby showers. And she goes, well, it's traditional. I mean, that's what the Sunday school teacher does. And I answered back and I said, but I am not the Sunday school teacher of that class. My husband is, which let me just say this, he would actually probably throw a better baby shower than I would. He's very actually skilled in project management and he puts the pretty nice touches on a plate. Like if he makes me a special dinner or something, then he'll put the decorative ornaments on it. You know, the things that you're supposed to do that I'm just like, no, it just dirties another plate. That's a waste of time. So it's amazing the differences, how God made us, and also how they complement each other. And also how cultural expectations override the giftings. So anyway, I said, but my husband teaches the class. I don't teach the class. And she goes, but you need to throw a baby shower. And I said, you know, I said no 2 times, maybe 3 times. Then another woman comes up and insists. And finally, I mean, I was about to break out in hives. My people-pleasing nature was dying at this point. And finally I caved and I said, fine, yes, I'll throw it, but I'll throw it my way. I'll throw it in my own home. I'm not going to do it at the church. It seems like it's simpler that way. And I'll do this, but I just couldn't handle the pressure anymore. My people-pleasing nature was like, whoa, listen, you said. So moral of the story is, even when you're learning to say no to things so you can say yes to the best things, sometimes it's still like your endurance gets weighed down. Don't beat yourself up over that. Understand, hey, I made progress. And for me, I was like, hey, I said no 2 or 3 times and then finally caved. And next time I will be a little bit more prepared and a little bit more sure of my reasons. And yeah, I was really caught off guard. Anyway, exhaustion, tiredness. This is why women have it. It's because we're nurturing. We're geared to be the soft part in between all the moving parts and to be the one that gives and the one that agrees. And, we're typically way more agreeable than men. And so that makes us more prone to saying yes than no. And it also makes us more prone to feeling guilty about our no's until we have clarity about our purpose and our priorities. So I want to talk to you about the 3 types of exhaustion so that we can solve for it. And also because if we don't understand what type of exhaustion is going on, then we'll solve it. We won't get to the root cause. And so we won't see improvement. We won't get to. So when my client comes to me and says, I'm exhausted, that is the time. This is not the time to start offering solutions immediately. It's the time to dig deeper. What kind of exhaustion are we talking about? So I think that there are 3. There is mental exhaustion, there is physical exhaustion, and there is soul exhaustion. And I think soul exhaustion is the type of exhaustion that is overlooked and might be actually creating the other 2 types of exhaustion. So keep those in mind. And also at the very end, if you'll stick with me, I will share my favorite question that helps lead a woman out of exhaustion and into the type of clarity that creates peace and purpose and productivity without burnout, which is something that we all need and all desire. Okay, so mental exhaustion. It looks like thinking too much, spinning in decision fatigue. That's when clarity is lacking. And also, on the mental exhaustion, the signs of this are that you can't shut your brain off, or it looks like procrastination that is disguised as planning. You're constantly planning and never coming with something done. Or you're constantly thinking about the what ifs. So, mental exhaustion. It can plague all of us. Sometimes it plagues some of us more. Again, this is one of those things that if you're a fast thinker or highly intelligent, then there's just more opportunity for more thoughts and faster thoughts. And it feels reasonable. Like, let's plan for all the scenarios. I'll be honest. This is the one that I struggle with the most. This is the one that I have to catch myself in quickly. So, what is the solution? By the way, this is the one that I struggled with so much that I made it my life's purpose. The solution is that the greater the amount of clarity we have in our lives, then the less mental clutter we'll have. And then by extension, the less mental exhaustion we will experience. Sometimes the answer is not more information. Sometimes the answer is more action because doing action will create the next information that we need. I being in the way, the Lord led me. I've said that on different videos about how that's how we want to get into action as soon as reasonably possible. So, if mental exhaustion feels like this is the problem, pay attention. In which specific areas am I lacking clarity? Okay. And sometimes it might be clarity of priorities or clarity of plan, you know. So those are the kind of questions you'll want to ask. I will say there is one more thing that another reason for mental exhaustion, which is not something that you're going to solve for so much as be more understanding of yourself. And I've had two different clients come to me recently on this one. When you do a new thing, say you take on a new job or take on a new position, or it's requiring you to learn something, you will experience more mental exhaustion because your brain, we underestimate how much our brains run on autopilot. So at your old job, your old position, there were so many things that you were doing. You were logging into your computer, you were going through protocols, you were talking to people without having to remember their name, without having to, labor to remember things. You're going through procedures as a matter of habit versus concentration. Anytime that we make a big change like that, and work or career is certainly a huge change, it's like an 8 hour a day newness. Even trying to navigate a new way, a new drive will be more exhausting than taking that old familiar path that you did for, 1,000 times, and you don't even have to remember it. I mean, your brain just automatically does it. It is amazing how much our brain seeks to make habits out of everything so it can save its mental thinking energy. So, your mental exhaustion might be because of a new big change in your life. And if that is so, just be patient with yourself. Be understanding. Take a nap. Don't take on as much during the season. Give yourself, I would say, 3 months to adjust. And then, if it continues, then search out for these other things. But if your mental exhaustion is by overthinking, understand that you need clarity plus focused action. Okay. And if you're not getting to action very fast, then the mental exhaustion is just going to keep on staying there, just going to keep on being there. You will always feel like you get some of your mental exhaustion, like you recover from mental exhaustion when you make a powerful decision. Always. That is why decisions feel like they give us energy back because they do. They stop the mental exhaustion, the constant running of the engine. Okay, one drink. Second type, physical exhaustion, as in you're doing too much, you're busy, but it's not getting better, and or there's no margin for recovery. So on this one, um, the signs of it are constant activity, poor sleep. Now, I don't know what your sleep needs are, but if you're getting poor sleep or not enough sleep, then it's going to contribute to physical exhaustion. Body tension. When I'm doing something new, I I hold all the tension in my neck, and pretty soon I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I hurt so bad, I need a massage." In fact, I'm so thankful that I found a good massage therapist because that does wonders for recovery for me. Um, you're so busy that you can't even take care of your health. So now you're compounding the problem. Physical exhaustion is creating future physical exhaustion because you're running your body down. You've only got one. We need to take care of it. It is a sign of good stewardship when we take care of our bodies. Okay? So, some of our time, or you're not leaving enough space to breathe in between activities. Physical exhaustion is that feeling of you're always busy, but you rarely feel accomplished. Things are never getting quite done. Projects are half finished. This is maybe the physical clutter in your environment that is draining you because everywhere you look, it's like, oh, there's one more thing to do, one more thing to do. This is how physical exhaustion and mental exhaustion kind of compound each other too, is because we get exhausted from always thinking there's one more thing to do. Um, you end the day wiped out, but nothing feels done. Okay, so the solution to physical exhaustion is focus. Stop trying to manage everything. Lead by choosing what matters most, what's going to move the needle, what's going to make the best difference. So many times, a client will come to me and she is too exhausted and she has got such a busy week or she's in the middle of a busy week. And it's like, okay, we're going to list everything that you have to do. And so she does. What's on your mind? Usually, she'll tap out at around 8 to 11 items and already feel better for having put it on paper because she got it out of her head. But she was literally physically tired and feeling like she couldn't do all the things. And then we just start going through these things one by one. What if we can only do one thing? If we force ourselves to only do 1 to 3 things a day, what will we give our first attention to? So many times we are busy, but we're not getting the dopamine hit of accomplishment, which really helps us. We instead turn to caffeine because we are not focusing on something until it's completed, until it's moved off, until it's done. I just had the hugest dopamine hit yesterday because I finally focused on a project that had been running in the back of my mind for over a year. It was cleaning up my emails and websites. And I knew that, I think I was even being charged for one. And I'm like, I need to trace that down, stop that. I need to get clear on, how many email addresses do I need, a personal slash business, you know, get that cleared up and close them down. And it took longer than I thought. But the payoff when I was done felt amazing. I felt so much lighter. It was tired, but it was the good kind of tired that comes from acknowledging that I accomplished something that I've been putting off for a really long time. And so give yourself that gift, okay? So, physical exhaustion, watch for it. If it's physical exhaustion, what's keeping you from getting good sleep? What's keeping you from taking care of yourself? What's keeping you from getting things done, not just shuffled around? Okay? Focus. Focus on the main things. By the way, I do not believe in the scarcity myth of time, as in there is not time to take care of all the things that matter most. If there is not time to take care of you and to take care of your health, then you need to examine that belief, because I don't believe that God gave us a calling to do, a purpose to fulfill, um, people to take care of, and then does not give us enough energy or enough hours in the day to accomplish that and take care of ourselves. If it's a chronic problem, it needs to be re examined. Okay. So, physical exhaustion, number two. Now, let's talk about soul exhaustion. Soul exhaustion. This is the type of exhaustion that very high capacity women, leaders in their own communities, leaders in their home, running a business or working, but they have a dream on hold. This is the type of exhaustion that we is a hidden type that we sometimes attribute as mental exhaustion or physical exhaustion. But this is when you are out of alignment. You're doing all the right things, but they're not your things anymore. Or you're doing good things, but you're being called to better things. Pay attention. The sign of this is when you find yourself asking, is this it? Or is there something else? Women feel bad about this, but this is actually a soul's awakening. This is a beautiful moment in a woman's life. I remember when it happened to me, and it was like, is this it? Is it just continuing this? And it's like, no, there is never a time in our lives when that is just it. By asking the question, you're awakening yourself up to the realization that no, there's more. You may not know what it is yet, but there's more for you. There's always more. Okay. So, soul exhaustion. Even when your life looks good on paper, there feels like there's not enough significance or meaning or contribution or legacy or um, long-termness to it. Legacy, I guess. So, solution. The solution to soul exhaustion is definitely number one, realizing it, awakening to it, but realign with who you are now. Maybe what you were doing is the old version of you. Maybe you've moved on. Maybe the career you're in is not challenging you anymore, and you can't come up with any good reasons why to stay in that company. It is not disloyal to look for a new job, okay? For some reason, women struggle with this sometimes. They think I should stay here and I'm not saying you have to leave either. I'm saying that your soul is calling for a higher pursuit. Ignore it at your own peril. What shall it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? Now, that is talking about salvation, as in making sure that we are in relationship with God, making sure that our eternal future is secure, is way more than any temporary gain that we'll have here on our limited time on earth. That's one and main interpretation of that. But it's also a principle. What shall it profit you if you gain what everybody else likes and approves of, but your soul goes lean and hungry and unfulfilled. Soul starvation, soul hunger. It's awakened in you for a reason. All right, so the solution is to realign with who you are now and who you are being called to become in the future. God didn't call us to strive. He called us to abide, as in to walk in purpose, walk in peace. Okay. It's not all about productivity. Productivity is a natural byproduct, a natural fruit of purpose and peace. But if we just focus on the productivity part, then sometimes we are missing stepping up to a new calling, stepping up to a new higher challenge, wrestling a little bit, figuring out what's next for this season of life. This is a sacred time. I just can't even emphasize enough. And in the description below, if this is something that you are really struggling with and you'd like support or help, I did put the link to my clarity call. I've usually got, I love to offer these to everyone, but I only leave room in my calendar for 2 to 3 max a week to do these. So if you want one, make sure that you book it now. Okay. But all of that to say, so we talked about mental clarity. We talked about mental exhaustion, physical exhaustion, and we talked about soul exhaustion. But now I promised you I was going to share with you the one question that brings clarity. And it's going to sound so simple that you may not even ask yourself it. And maybe it's something that you already ask yourself, and so it's going to be like, oh, but I think, by the way, if you do ask yourself this honestly and at the soul level, not just at the physical level, not just at the mental level, the soul level, then you'll already know the value of asking and answering this question honestly. But it's a question that many, many women that I've talked to have never given themselves permission to ask, because I'm going to be frank, it's going to sound selfish. So brace yourself. I'm about to tell you the selfish question, but it's the question that brings clarity. What do you actually enjoy doing that gives you energy? It's a variation on the question, what do you want? But sometimes that's too big of a question. So when we're talking about exhaustion, doing things we enjoy may make us tired, but it makes us that good type of tired, the type where we can sleep well at night, knowing that we've, put something in, we've accomplished, we've achieved something, or we made progress on something. And I don't care how you define this. It might be, I enjoy getting more rows done on my knitting when I knit socks. Just answer it honestly. Because even though it might sound simple to you, there is a deep, resonating reason for why that gives you energy. What do you actually enjoy doing that gives you energy? That is going to be the beginning of walking in wisdom, of understanding you, the real you, the soul level you, the essence of you in relationship with the God who created you. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful partnership. And maybe you're not even a believer. That's fine. It still works this way. Try it out. I give the same answer to my Christian clients and my non-Christian clients, and I give the same direction, and it works equally well. It's just the non-Christian clients are not interested in the reason why it works usually. They just want to know what works. And the Christian clients usually enjoy understanding, oh, this is biblically rooted. I had no idea. Yes, it is. So you deserve to know that answer. And not only know it, but then you deserve to design a life where that is not a luxury, but it is actually a priority. And if you're saying, well, I'm not sure. I don't even know how to even start going about that. Okay, book a clarity call. I'll help you. All right. So, if this hit home, if this helped you, if you're tired and you're tired of being tired, then book a free clarity call. And in 30 minutes, we'll uncover what's really draining you and the simplest next step to help you feel energized again. And I put the link in the description, but I'm just going to close with this. Smart women shouldn't have to live exhausted. My favorite scripture, Matthew 28 or Matthew 11, 28 through 30. Jesus said, "Come unto me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am humble and meek, or sorry, I'm butchering it. And you shall find rest for your souls, because my burden, my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Well, you'd think I'd have that better memorized for as much as I try to quote it. I'll work on that. But easy and light, that's our promise. By the way, I personally think that when you put easy and light together, we come up with delight, as in delightful. So, what delights your soul? Are you making time in your week for that? And if not, why not? Because you shouldn't have to live exhausted. All right. I hope that's helped. If you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat. Again, make sure you share your aha moments. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe, do all the bells and things and whistles that YouTube says need to be done. All right. I'll talk to you next week. Bye bye.